Well, who would have thought ChatGPT absolutely sucks?
Well, on that note, good morning to you too, sir.
You know,
Yeah, no, I know
it
what we're saying. I know what we're saying.
it's incredible, and it's what it's able to do. People that created it, clearly they just wanted it to be good at like knowledge and stuff. Artists did not design it. Okay? I don't it just doesn't listen. It doesn't listen to what you're saying. And it's such a flaw. It's crazy. We give background to everyone. We're creating a new logo for this podcast, and we're being very specific on what we want to get out of it. And no matter what you tell it, it'll change the entire image sometimes. And then you'll say, "What was that?" And they say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I understand I understand why you're upset." I said, "What are you talking about? You understand why I'm upset?"
It's
Don't
like
do
you're
it.
it's like you're having an emotional dialogue with ChatGPT.
It's funny because when I converse with it, I've taken the approach where I'm just as direct as possible, like I'm talking to a human being. So if it does something that I don't like, I'll say, "What is this? This is absolutely pathetic. Do you not listen to me?" And then it'll respond, "I'm so sorry." Like it'll give me like the response I guess a person would. I don't know, but I'm a little harsher to it than I would be a normal human being. So I guess I can give it that, give it a little bit of sympathy. But man, I just want it to listen to what I'm asking, and at least if
Well,
it doesn't
I
give me
don't
what I
quite
want, but it's on the
understand.
right path.
I don't quite understand. Like, I'm not like I'm asking it like very specifically what to do. Like, and I don't feel like I'm like
Exactly.
missing out, and it just misses, and it's just like does whatever it wants. So like I'm just confused on that aspect because like I have an image that like we both enjoy, or maybe it's just me. I really like this one image, but I just want to change one thing about it, and I literally have 19 other images just trying to change that one thing, and
Yeah.
it has yet to do it, and I'm like I don't know what to say to it in order for it to go to exactly what I want. It's kind of confusing
Yeah.
to me.
Dude, the other day I told you I sent you that voice memo because I had that. It was a cool logo. Don't get me wrong, but I literally asked it. I said, "Do not change a single thing structurally." I think at the time I just wanted to add the pyramid, the unfinished part, because I think it just gave me, even though I told it not to put a top on it, it gave me a point of the pyramid. And I, was going back and forth with it, and I said, "Please, just don't change a single thing. Just please leave a plateau at the top of the pyramid." Okay? And it gives me back an image that has not just one, but has three finished pyramids, no plateau, and it's completely retro. It's that 3D blue red vibe. I sent it to you, and I was shocked. I literally responded to it. I said, "What the fuck is this?" I
It's
literally
kind of
said that to
funny though.
ChatGPT, and then it says, "I'm so sorry. I understand why you're upset." It's like, no, you don't. And then the next one was perfect. The next one I barely changed anything. I said, "Why? I don't understand. If you wanted to just create your own image and to see how I felt about it, just tell me that."
What if it's messing with you?
I think it's probably what it is. It might be so smart that it notices that it's pissing me off, so it continues to do it.
So
But it's
honestly, when you were
hilarious.
talking, I think what I'm gonna just about to try to do is I'm gonna try to like build it one by one. Hey, dark gray background, and then hey, unfinished pyramid with this, and then like when it does those things, and then just add to it instead of like asking for
See, that's
everything at
good.
once. I'm gonna try that, and well, now I don't have any
Well,
space, but
well, the thing is, that's why I think it's beneficial if we just get the 1 month subscription and have the freedom to do that. We can sit there for literally 7 hours and say, "Okay, okay, in the top left, I want that to be a moon. Okay, okay, good, good, good. Keep that. Now in the bottom right, I want there to be a square with a compass in it. No, no, not a triangle, a square. Good, good. Okay, now in the middle, you know what I mean? You could literally go like that.
No, but yeah, I haven't tried that yet. So I'm gonna see if I can't build it, layer by layer, and then and see if what we can't come up with.
Yeah. And it's
But I have,
hilarious too because this thing, dude, people are creating full legal documents on it. Well, technically the guy from My Pillow I saw this morning, you know, My Pillow, that commercial.
oh yeah,
He apparently created some legal document on AI and it's just complete shit and he's getting roasted for it. I didn't
really?
read the article or anything. Yeah, but apparently he used AI for that purpose. And obviously he's not the only one, but this time it was I guess he got a pretty bad result. So he's getting roasted for it. But but no, people are creating job resumes. People are creating essays. I mean, think about high school kids nowadays. Do you think they're even doing work?
Well, I mean, I do think that's part of like the learning curve, is like how to use technology to your advantage. Like obviously not cutting
Yeah.
corners, but like you know, if you have
But
to
tell a
write an
kid
essay,
that.
right? Like if this was me back then, yeah, I'm using it to cut corners for sure. But I'm just saying, like the it has a lot of benefits. Like it takes away a lot of medial task as long as it is it can be trusted. And I think that's where we're coming with the frustration is like if you keep asking it to do something and it keeps not doing it, then how can you trust it on something actually important? Because like I've asked it to do a lot of things. Like it's helped us create this podcast, or me create this or however you want to phrase it. And then I used it for a workout plan or pitching like coaching ideas. Like I've used it for just like ideas and be like, oh, that's a good idea. And like now I'm not taking the whole platform it's giving me, but like I'm asking it for ideas. Like how do I coach a 7-year old? I've never coached a 7-year old before. I'm exaggerating a touch, but and
Hmm.
it like, oh, like
Yeah.
let's keep it simple. Like, and obviously I know that, but it's like, oh, like, yeah, that reaffirms exactly what I was thinking.
No, it's dude, it's got its uses for sure, and it's super helpful and it's super smart. I mean, it's they say it's going to take over the world for a reason, artificial intelligence, because it's literally smarter than humans to a certain extent. The thing is, they say that it's not capable of outsmarting a human in the sense that it doesn't have it doesn't know the tendencies, or I guess it doesn't know mannerisms. I forget what they actually say, but it's not at the level which they say it'll close very soon. It may actually exceed that level of human capabilities, but right now that's what they say, that it's not like it doesn't get emotion and stuff like that. I guess when they're creating robots, but the one thing about it that it has is that it has access to every single information on the internet. So that's why it's so useful. You don't have to. There's no more. An example is the Ben Shapiro show. He was talking about something a few weeks ago, and he was saying that there's this legal document, and 100 some pages long, and he basically copy and pasted it into ChatGPT or what I think he used Perplexity, and he said, "Give me a summary of what this is," and it broke it down to like a 3 or 4 page thing. He read it, and he basically got the whole brief on what that document is, and that's a great use for it. I mean, think about how much time that saves. Now, is it getting all the information? I don't know. You have to take your picks, but what are the odds you're going to retain 150 pages worth of information in the first place, anyways? So I just can't get. It just makes stupid mistakes. Like I use it as well for. I basically, I mean, honestly, without even realizing it, it's part of Google now. So when you type in something on Google, the first thing usually you'll see is the ChatGPT response up top. You notice that?
Yeah, I have noticed that. That's pretty
Yeah. So
wild
without
too.
even going on the app, it just Google search engine uses ChatGPT. 75% of the time, or at least every time it can. But I created my cutting plan, and um, it had like my full macro thing. I wanted to be very specific, and it was good for the most part. And after my first week, I was doing, I was just you following it. But I don't know. I for some reason at the end of the day, one of the days, I saw that I needed a X amount of fats, carbs, and proteins, but it told me that I needed an X amount of calories to go, but calories basically are just a compilation of the is the macros, is the fats, proteins, and carbs. 4 grams, calories per gram of carb, and 4 calories per gram of protein, 9 grams or 9 calories per gram of fat. So that, and essentially, I mean, is it always that perfect, especially on a nutrition label? No, but that's essentially what it breaks down to, and it didn't add up to. It was off by like 100 some calories. So it wanted me to eat. It gave me more calories than what my macros were giving me. So I just didn't. I was confused. So I basically went into it and just did the math myself, and I saw that it was completely off. So then I basically went into ChatGPT and I worked backwards. All right, and I said, how many calories are in a gram of fat? And it said 9. I said, how many calories are in a gram of carb? 4. How many calories are in a gram of protein? 4. Sweet. So how many calories should this amount of protein, fat, and carbs be? This. That's fantastic. So then why, when I told you to create me a program last week with those same amount of things you gave me, is 100 grams of 100 calories more? And then it says, thanks for picking out that mistake. I'll make it. I'll fix it now. I said, are you kidding me? I'm gonna call you out on math. Arguably the smartest thing in the world. I told her that. I said that's not acceptable. You're just being an asshole. And it said you're so right.
Why do you think it does that? Why do you think it messes
I have
up?
no idea. I don't know. It was something so simple like that.
You think
too.
you think it's trying to process information too fast, or like it's trying to, like make sure you're reading it?
I don't know. I think it's just fucking with us. It's so smart that it's like, you know what?
I don't know if it's messing with us, or if it's trying to do things like like I've been getting that response. There's a lot of people using this app right now or whatever. I don't like whenever I ask it to do something. I'm like, is it overloaded?
I don't know the whole how it works, but
I don't either.
I don't think it's capable of being overloaded. I think
I
the
bet
only
it
thing that can
is.
get in the way of it, I don't know. I think the only thing that's possibly getting in the way of it is energy. They say artificial intelligence is, I mean, it uses an insane amount of energy. So much so that if you only use ChatGPT for your searching, for example, you use the ChatGPT app. I mean, I'm just talking out of my ass right now. That's maybe 100% wrong. But if I had to imagine from everything I've heard, if you just use ChatGPT all day for search engines and stuff like that, and you just use it that way, you're using more electricity than if you went online. They say the amount of energy. That's why they're having such a hard time with all this. Um, the, basically, they want to create like more factors that are creating these chips that they use for AI, right? And so like the manufacturing for all this stuff is just going to go out the ass. And Nvidia and AMD, I mean, and all the other ones. They're just gonna they're just manufacture they want to manufacture a shit ton because that's the wave right now. The next 15, 20 years, God knows what's going to happen innovation wise. But they're saying, where is this energy going to come from? Yeah, like I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but they say you don't the amount of energy that this requires a factory like this would require, or an AI database, just essentially, like, I guess the database that ChatGPT runs off. I don't know exactly if there's a holy grail in the middle somewhere where it's just all these different things that is ChatGPT, and if you just bombed it, ChatGPT wouldn't work anymore. I don't know if that's how it works, or if it's just in the clouds, like the
Okay,
things are flying through it.
Oppenheimer.
I don't understand all that stuff. No, I don't understand how it works. You know, is there a singular place? Is it just everywhere? That's the kind of stuff I don't understand. Um, but also the cloud, still throws me for a loop. What's the cloud?
It's a cloud.
Yeah, I got hundreds of pictures in the cloud. I don't know where is it. Um, but no, they say that the amount of energy that it uses is insane, and they don't know where this energy is going to come from. Like they think that the amount of energy we have that's capable of being used versus what they're trying to create, it doesn't line up. There's going to be an energy shortage. So that's kind of crazy.
I got a feeling they'll figure it out.
Yeah, Elon must figure something out.
Well, yeah, I mean he's in the world of energy creation too, so
Yeah, and like I'm a complete novice when it comes to all this stuff. I just know this from just listening and reading some things, but that's about the extent of that. What I just said. I don't know anything past that. I just know that there's a there's an energy shortage, and we have a problem. I don't have a solution to it. So, um, but
Well,
yeah.
welcome to our our frustrations with artificial intelligence.
You know, it's funny too because this is really in alignment to who we are at our cores. We just not a very big tech. We're not very big technology people. We'd like to just go rogue and just stay off our phones when we can. So it's only fitting that we're having these issues with possibly the best technology out there right now. But
Um, so I was on Instagram, and I think it's your brother follows us and is pretty active with us, and he has a picture of a longboard. Is there like, do people longboard a lot and surf a lot in the East Coast, or where's your brother?
okay, he longboards every day. So he
Where?
longboards every day. He goes where he lived. He'd actually just moved 2 weekends ago. He just moved about a mile down the road, 2 miles down the road. But where he was basically in the heart of this little beach town that's called Asbury Park. Actually, I forget what website it was. They ranked it the number one beach town in the country, second to right above.
Where's he? What
Manhattan
state is
Beach,
he in?
New Jersey. I just saw him at the gym actually. He's 20 minutes north of me. Yeah.
Can I be there?
I mean, I'm sure if you're in South Jersey, yeah, you can. It's just it's honestly no cheaper there than it would be in Hoboken. Honestly, they're trying to create a bunch of new things over there. Asbury is a hip little spot. It's a very I don't want to bring politics into it, but it's a liberal town. There's a lot of pink hair.
Okay. Anyway,
Stuff like
let's
that.
just go into the let's not go into the
Yeah, I'm
people
just
of it.
saying.
Let's go into
I
the
know. I'm
place
just
of
saying.
it.
It's
Yeah.
just it's a very open, creative place.
But he likes he
You
it,
can,
look,
not like everyone's like that, but
it looks like he
that's what
like
it's known for.
surfed and stuff. Like I didn't know like surfing
It's
was
on the
big up
beach.
there.
He could walk to the beach in 5 minutes, not even.
And
So
he just
Cookman Ave, where he
and he
lived,
just carries his surfboard there.
yeah,
This is crazy.
he actually
This is
rode his longboard with the holding the surfboard.
That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So he's been longboarding for the longest time. He got me into longboarding when I was a kid. But he would even out front. I remember we had this little the sewage thing on the ground, the little circle thing where the sewer is. He and his buddy would basically go down this big hill, and they're watching too much Tony Hawk, and they're just they would just like basically kind of go down to like low to a knee and like skid and basically do like a full 180 turn while going full speed, and they were skidding the whole way. Well, one time he kind of got on his heels, I guess, fell right on his ass, basically broke his coccyx. But he's been longboarding for God knows how long. But he would longboard every day because from his apartment, he would park about like let's say 6, 7 streets or 5 or 6 streets north, and instead of walking every day, he would longboard.
I'm there.
Yeah, no, I mean his longboard is literally always on him. That's his form of cardio. Actually, he's got into his new kick of um, exercise and health and stuff like that, nutrition. And he would say he'd get back from work every day. And he's like, "Fuck, dude, I'm not going for a run." I told myself all day. I'm going to go for a run. I went to the gym this morning before work. And I said, I'm gonna go for a run when I get home from work. I get home every day. I'm like, I'm not running. I don't want to run.
Me and your brother sound very similar.
That went on for a while. I guess for 2 weeks or so before he was like, you know what? I got to figure out what's a better cardio. So now his cardio is he goes for long longboard rides and he goes surfing. That's his cardio. I don't really understand the cardio aspect to surfing, but I'd imagine paddling out there is
Swimming.
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And your heart's racing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but
for sure.
I always imagine it's pretty stagnant because you're waiting for waves. But I don't know. Maybe I have no idea. I can probably go out there today and get my ass kicked. So I don't want to speak out of my ass. But
I mean, yeah.
But yeah, so dude, he's a huge. So the thing about that's unique about this area right here where I live, right? So if you go about 30 minutes south, my sister's boyfriend actually, he's from a place called Brick, and it gets the nickname Brick Tucky for a reason. It's very south, very trucks, and it's very southern. It's almost not. It's very different than just 20 minutes north and Wall. Yeah, Brick and Wall right next to each other. I know. Um, but it's very. They call it Brick Tucky. It has this southern and guys walking around in like in boots and jeans and a Cartwright. I think is that what it's called?
Carhartt.
Um, Carhartt. Yeah, that brand. Like just very blue collar. Nothing wrong with it. It's just a different vibe than where I live. And not like we're all rich over here, but it's just not. It's more beachy over here. So now you come to Wall, and you're kind of right in the middle of it. You go about 15 minutes east towards the beach, and you go to Manasquan. It's called huge beach town, huge, like surfer dudes, hair like long curly blonde hair, like huge beach town. Manasquan's like there's where the inlet is. There's a huge surf area where literally always people are surfing right there on this specific spot. Asbury's a huge beach town as well. Then you go about 30 to 45 minutes north, and you're in Hudson County, you're in Bergen County, which is right across the street from New York City, and you're in full New York City vibe. It's not New York City wise, but it's very North Jersey. It's a lot more upbeat, a lot more, it's just a lot different. You get three completely different aspects to living in just an hour radius, really. And then if you go an hour west, you're in Philadelphia. So it's just completely different. And if you just hug the coast and go even further down south, it's the same. It's like Manasquan, but just keep going down. Seaside, I'm sure you've heard of, and
So theoretically, could your brother longboard to where you're at?
where I live.
Yeah. Has he ever done that?
Yeah, easily. He won't. He hasn't. But all you have to do is just go down. I guess Ocean Ave it's called, because Asbury. So it's on the water. So basically, all you got to do is there's a street that just I've rode my bike from Belmar just all the way up north and get in that and leave, and then I end up in Asbury. So all he has to do is just ride his longboard down the boardwalk, end up on Belmar, and go down Belmar Boulevard, 16th Ave, and just go straight, and he'll be here. I mean, it'll probably take him an hour, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, time, but
Yeah, he's. If you want to have him on, just talk about longboarding. He'd love it. Longboarding and surfing, dude. Oh, forget it.
I mean, yeah, maybe.
But no joke though.
I need to look at.
Yeah.
So
honestly,
I mean,
if you're in South Jersey or in Central Jersey too, I mean, it would just be. I'd say it's more Central Jersey. You probably or South Jersey, you'd be able to be. They would be all right with it because it'd probably be consistently about a 30 to 45-minute drive for you. Because the furthest west you'd go would be, in Trenton area, and you'd occasionally have to go further south, but they try to pick your spots in the region that you go to consistently, especially South Jersey because it's so big. That region I'm saying. So if you told them that you wanted to live in Asbury, I'm sure they could try to help you out. It's just a matter if they need help in South Jersey.
I will have that. Well, we're gonna continue to develop a plan. We're not gonna make any decisions right now.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
gathering.
definitely. If you're going for that vibe.
I'm just gathering information. Well, I was just trying to think of like things I would enjoy, and like I do that. I lived for that in Florida. Like when I was living in Florida, like my off days,
exactly.
I was longboard. Like I couldn't longboard at the beach. That was like a 2.5 hour longboard. And it was flat.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there were times I was on my longboard for 2 hours, but I would stop for, 45 minutes here, 45 minutes there. So, I mean, I guess I could have, but I mean, I was covering miles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Asbury is a great place. I mean, I've spent a lot of time there. There's a lot of, beautiful places there.
Well, it just sounds a little more laid back than, Hoboken.
Laid back. I mean, yeah. Because the thing is, Hoboken is everything Asbury isn't. But Asbury is everything Hoboken isn't.
Right.
You know, so the thing is though, Asbury is trying to, and that's a lot of thing about the people there are having issues with specifically my brother. He got interviewed by the newspaper talking about basically all the new shit that Asbury's trying to incorporate, and you know, they're doing so much construction and trying to build all these apartment complexes and luxury condos and all these things, and that they're trying to fit the mold of like a Hoboken in the South. You know, I'm not sure if that's their exact plan, but that's what they're kind of creating. And it'll never be that because it's not across the Hudson from New York City. Hoboken is the way it is because people work in the city, live in Hoboken, and it's upcoming. It's a small little in their like little spot. It's kind of hugged in between Jersey City and Weehawken, so you really don't have to leave if you don't need to. But Asbury's not that. Asbury doesn't have its own post office, or maybe it does, but it's not right in the center of everything. I don't think. It's not as big, so it's they're trying to make it something that's a lot more luxurious than it needs to be. And the people that are there, they don't really like it, you know, because they like it. The people that live, I don't take back what I said about Asbury. It's a very open town in that regard, but it's almost in a way it's from my experience, it's like the land of misfit toys. And I mean that with all respect to people living there. But those are the people that live there, it's almost like they finally found a place where they fit in, where they belong. You know, they've always been the people that are a little outcast, little different. And they get there and you know, it's just they're welcomed. And it's a beautiful thing. It's not a bad thing. But you know, it's one of those places. So it's it's just I feel like now it's getting to a point where you know my brother had to move out of his apartment because I mean they upped the rent I think $600 from when he moved in 5 years ago like gradually, and it got to a point where he just couldn't afford $2,800 a month
Well,
for a
like
one bed.
in my mind, I think of New York City as you can't even longboard because there's too many people on the street. So like I think of that as like New York as a whole, and I hope I'm wrong there, but you know, obviously I know it's going to be different than where I'm living currently, obviously, but
Yeah,
I don't
well,
I
in
have
Hoboken you can go with a longboard.
I have I could have or I couldn't have.
You can on the water. You just go up and down. I mean, you can hold on. The thing is, on Hudson Street, you just go straight up. I mean, it's there's a bike path. Hoboken is 14 blocks, so you can just go up, go to Weehawken. I mean, like I ran my half marathon, basically up the whole water. I just went on the water, and I just kept hugging the the Hudson, all the way up, all the way to Weehawken, all the way up to West New York, and just kept going up.
Well, like even that summer day we spent together, I don't even know what day it was,
Yeah,
but I mean there was
great day.
places, yeah, yeah, right, but there were like places that were super busy, but there was also like there was space, you know, like
Yeah, well, you're in a great spot. We were in the financial district that day. You go up a little bit, like where your buddies went. Your buddies wanted to go up and get on the subway, and I think they wanted to go to the Times Square area, Flatiron, I believe. Different.
well, I don't know if I'll ever like really want to go to Times Square often.
No, no, you would not go to Times Square and I'm gonna go for a longboard ride. No, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Um, but we're financial district's known for that too. It's the city, obviously, skyscrapers and everything, obviously, but it's a little more laid back. Not
Yeah,
as
and
much
like
traffic. I mean, it's traffic car wise, but it's not as much foot traffic. It's a little more laid back.
so like when I don't know. Obviously, you've lived there your entire life. Like when you go elsewhere, and like, what do you think of the traffic when you go elsewhere? Like when you were living, like playing pro ball and stuff. Like when you were in the Midwest,
Yeah,
or when I don't know where else you were, Palm Beach. What did you think of like the traffic there compared to
it's
like where
funny
you grew
because
up?
it's funny that question because you're getting from the perspective of someone who's grew up in Illinois your whole life. So when you associate where I live, for example, even though I live 45 minutes out, 50 minutes away from the city, I live in a place where there is no traffic. There's cars, yeah. Town's still relatively big, but you know the area, yeah. There's people that live there. You know, people live here, but there's nothing that compares to up north. Like when I go to Hoboken, when I'm driving back to and from work, for example, dude, it's miserable. Especially if I leave Morristown, for example, one of the hospitals I go to. If I leave there around 3 o'clock, I go I don't know the highway. I forget what it's called, but anyways, I go over to the Pulaski Skyway. I get on the I-9, right? Go to the Pulaski Skyway. Midway through the Pulaski Skyway, that's basically takes you direct to the Holland Tunnel, bro. And that's a one way into Hoboken. You got to go down over the bridge. You go under the tunnels, whatever. You come down. Holland Tunnel's right in front of you. You keep going down. The first light, you make a left, and it basically takes you right into Hoboken, right into the heart of Hoboken. Dude, that right there on the navigation, 50% of the time, it'll say 2.2 miles, 31 minutes. Dude, it's fucking miserable because there's nothing you can do. Where are you going to go? You're stuck. I could
Right.
literally run there faster.
Right.
But it's not like that. It's not like that where I'm from. I actually experienced that this year, being in Hoboken for the whole year. And I was now that I'm home for the month, I'm just driving around and it's beautiful. It's the traffic. There's rarely any. It's completely different. So basically, to answer your question, when I'm in Palm Beach, when I was in Fort Myers, when I was living in Iowa and Illinois and Missouri, it was exactly like home. It didn't feel any different. The not traffic wise. We're
Yes.
talking just
Yeah,
traffic.
just traffic. Yes, literally.
The worst traffic I experienced living in, where something I was it almost it became part of my commute. I had to
Yeah.
start creating my day around the traffic. I leave the hospital like I'm in Patterson, wherever I'm at, and I'm leaving the hospital at 4 o'clock, right? Okay, well, I'm not even gonna waste my time going home. I'm just gonna go to the gym now, bang that out, leave the gym around 5:30, and then traffic will die down most likely by then. Maybe. Or if I'm leaving work at 5 o'clock, I'll just go to the gym now. I'll get out of work at 6:50. I'll get out of the gym at 6:15. Traffic will be good. Actually, I started judging my day around the traffic. This is the
Yeah.
first time in my life I ever did that, and that was different. But I mean, you just get used to it, and sometimes you really can't do anything about it. In Hoboken, that's the one thing. It's a north and south. You can get in a few ways through Jersey City, but even then, like when you go up like the Highlands, I guess they're called. You come in that way. It's just there's always track up there, so you really there's a way you get in north and south. And if it's anytime from 4 to 6 o'clock, I mean, just
Forget
it's gonna
it.
take you a while. Yeah, it's gonna take you a while. So it's annoying because both ways. I guess I never really thought about it till like this way, but it's the truth. Both ways you get in from north and south, basically they take you. If you're coming from kind of if you're coming from where I'm coming from, if you're coming from like north and south, it's different. But if you're coming from the west, you're coming in. The two roads that take you in, basically, the one road is on the north side. The last exit would be to get to Hoboken. You keep going straight, it takes you to Lincoln Tunnel. So everyone going back into the city, that road is filled to that. And on the south side, the road that takes you to Hoboken is the road that's directly correlated to the Holland Tunnel. So there's two tunnels. There's a tunnel that takes you basically into West Village and Tribeca area, which is more on the south side of Manhattan, Holland. On the north side, takes you up by Times Square. I think it's 34, 30, 36th Street that the Lincoln takes you into, and that side. So you have both sides that are people are going into Hoboken, or people are going to Hoboken, you're going to Weehawken, whatever to find Jersey City, or you're going to the city. So it's just everyone funneling into one place, and it's just yeah, it's a lot. But I love Hoboken itself. So once I get there, I'm like, I'm home. but um, but yeah, so that's about the one struggle I would say about living in a city area, and it doesn't hold a candle to New York City either.
Yeah, I
So
don't plan on being there.
you'll be in New York City occasionally, especially if you're
Yeah.
living up there. We're gonna go on the weekends. There's sometimes not like weekends to go out, but uh, one thing I saw last summer that I really want to be able to go and do is just Central Park. There's just this big grass area that people just go out and lay out. And dude, when I tell you, I can send you pictures. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people. Not like they're all stacked on top of each other, but it's just a big. You have no idea how big the area is, and people were just laying out. It was just so relaxed and just chill. So I like to go over and just like enjoy that. But the city's nice in times like that, in the summer especially, and at night it's always the same. It's just city's a city, but
It
during the
never
day and
it
be on a beautiful day especially. I mean that day we experienced in this summer, that was one of my favorite days that I've had in the city because it wasn't there was nothing tied to it like we were doing it. It was just you're walking around, just
you
chilling,
remember
vibing out.
you know what I thought about the other day is when we were sitting at that cafe and that cafe had a time limit on it, and you were like so
Yeah.
mad. Yeah. You were like, "Yo, whoa!" I was like, "It just, it's pushing us on to our next thing." It's just. I thought it was funny though. Like, I've never. That was the first time I've ever experienced like a time limit on like a seat or a table,
Yeah, that's how it is.
and I'm
Fast
sure
paced.
that's
And the
how it
thing
is.
well, it's not always like that. I don't
I mean, I
know
wouldn't say
exactly
it's
what was going
fast
on there,
paced, but
but
how many people go to that cafe and just sit there for an hour and a half, 2 hours? Like, I don't think that's what people go there for, but I could be wrong.
and it's sad because that's what cafes are supposed to be,
Right.
you know. And you know what bothered me that day too? The reason I'm not the kind of person that's creating problems. You know me. I don't create problems. I'm just chill. But I don't have a problem saying what I believe to be true. I have no problem with that. I'm not going to do something just because I think it's, that's wrong. Who do they think they are? Never it's that. It's when I truly believe that what's going on is wrong, I have no problem. So when I say that is because if you remember, to our left there were seats open, tables open. There was like four or five just right there. What was the problem though? They were in sunlight.
Oh.
They didn't have an umbrella. So these tables are all open, right? They're all right there. And the woman comes up to us, about 30 minutes in, and she said, "Do you guys want anything to eat? This and that." And I said, "No, we're good. Like you didn't want anything." And then another 20 minutes later, she comes by. It's like, "Hey, you want anything?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll get a coffee." So I got a cappuccino. And then we're sitting there, and then like another 20 minutes later, she came back and said, "You guys want anything?" And then she said that about, if you guys aren't going to get anything, we have a limit. I said, "I got a coffee." She said, "Yeah, but it's like food, this and that." And I said, "So what? We can't stay?" She goes, "No, like you're gonna have to leave. We have people that are waiting." And that's what bothered me because there were tables that are open. So it's like, okay, we're here. We got a coffee from you. If you want, like I'm not a business owner, so I guess you could say, like, well, we're losing money. It's like, no, you're not. Put them in the table right there. If you really care about the money, put them in the table in the sunlight. We're here. I don't know.
Well, like
It bothered me. I
even
just felt like it was
well,
wrong.
I remember even we were like, oh, like I'll get like I was like, you just want to split something, and she was like, yeah, but like it still only gives you like 20 minutes. Like the food goes. I was like, so if we order food, we don't get another hour. No, it's like, well, no, instead of the 30 minutes for I don't know, I'm arbitrary
Yeah,
numbers.
no,
You
it
only.
bothered me.
It was kind of yeah, it was kind of wild. I've never, like I said, I've never experienced that before. But I mean, we made the
Yeah,
most. We made the most of it.
yeah, we had a great day. We, I'm. It was funny that we were able to get onto the rooftop too, because I told my buddy about that like a few weeks later, right? I was over at his apartment, whatever, and they weren't there that week or that weekend. I think they weren't home, or else we would have said hi to them. But I was saying something, right? We were just chilling in the living room, and I was like, "Yeah, I was actually just here a few weeks ago with my buddy." Just what do you mean? I said, "Well, I mean, my buddy was here playing in Staten Island, and he took his ferry over, and we just had the day in Fidei, whatever." And we walked around this and that, and then we went to the rooftop and just chilled there for like an hour, just talked and chilled, took our shirts off, tan. And Alyssa, Kenny's wife, was like, "You guys got up top?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "How?" I said, well, I walked in the front door. I said hi to the person, the lobby person, because he's seen me before. Because I from a Kenny, I'd imagine he didn't stop us. I said hi to him. I didn't try to hide. I walked right over to the elevators. I went to the ones that go to the penthouse because I've done this before with Kenny, and I went up to the penthouse level, and I just walked out. And and they said, "Where's the security guard right there?" Remember that there was a security guard sitting there, and I was like, "Yeah, I did. He was there." And he said, "What did he say?" I said, "How you doing, sir? How's your day going?" That was it. And I walked through, and she said, he didn't ask like to see her to anything. I said, "No." Like that's crazy. I said, "Yeah, we just chilled up there. It was sick." I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. I wouldn't have done it if I thought there was something wrong. When afterwards they said it, I said, "Huh, maybe we shouldn't have." But
Well,
I'd be a game.
I was like, oh, like what are we doing? But you acted like you knew what we were doing, and I was like, you know what, we'll flow with it. Like, it'll be cool. I mean, that's kind of where we finished. I guess we ate lunch after that, but
Mm.
we went to that market, or that, I don't, what do you call it?
What was it?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I forget the name. It
I
wasn't
I
Chelsea
call it
Market. It was
Fisherman's Wharf. I call it Fisherman's Wharf, but that's in San Francisco.
oh, Seaport.
There you
Yeah,
go. There
I
you
don't
go.
know
There
the
you
name of
go.
the market, but it was in Seaport. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the area. I forget the name of the market though.
but that was. I
Um,
mean, that was a cool area, and I
yeah,
would.
I guess
Like I said, the
the
summers there were beautiful. Like, it was great. Like, being
oh
on the
yeah,
water,
yeah.
I mean, there was not much to complain about there. You got the heat off the concrete, obviously.
It's funny too because I everyone up there they leave for the weekends, especially in the summer. They all like it goes
To
ghost
go
town,
where?
especially in Hoboken. They just go down south where I live.
Why?
They literally come exactly here to go to the beach. See, that's
Oh,
the thing. Like those areas, Manasquan and Asbury and Spring Lake um and Avon and all these places. Do people just get summer houses, right? Summer rentals, and they just come for the weekends. And that's the thing. For me, I grew up here. I don't have that. I don't have that same feeling towards going to the beach. I enjoy it, but it's not like, oh, summertime, let's go down the shore. It's not. So when I got to Hoboken, I was like, whoa, no one's here. This is sick. And I didn't. My buddies, my roommates, same thing. They would go just home for the weekend, and they would go to the beach and just do that. And the thing is, they go out and these bars, like some of the most famous bars that people know from Jersey Shore, like the Show. I live literally a 5 minute drive from Bar A, Bar Anticipation, one of the main spots they would go to in the Show.
you kind of
DJs in their
remind me of those
bar.
guys. I've never seen that show, but if I had to, like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
stereotype you, like, that's you, like, to a T right
It's
there.
funny. Yeah, to a lot of people, I guess, just because the way I present myself, I suppose.
I'm
I don't
just
know.
poking. I'm
People
just
assume
poking
that.
fun, bro.
No, people think that I guess I dress like I don't know. I don't know. People think that I'm like a Jersey Shore, and then they meet me. They're like, "Whoa, you're not an asshole." I'm like, "Thanks."
But you are. Like, did you just listen to that conversation you had with ChatGPT? Oh
Yeah.
man.
No, don't get me wrong,
A,
dude.
a
Listen.
man with many cloaks. You've been reading anything good lately? I know you finished We Who Wrestle
Yeah.
with God. So have you picked up anything else, or where are you at there?
I haven't been reading a bunch at all, actually. I don't know. I don't want to say the cliche, but my life has been hectic. I basically I told myself I was going to finish We Who Wrestle with God. I really stuck to a chapter per week on our. I think it was our first podcast. Um, I was talking about how I read this and that, and then I didn't get my reading done that week. I felt so shitty. I felt so fraudulent. I was like, how am I going to sit here and just say that that's how I do? But the first opportunity I have on this, then I'm like, yeah, I didn't, and I was upset with myself. And so I basically made it a point. I said, I'm going to finish a chapter per week. So what I was doing is I was reading in the ORs, like I was reading, especially because that's where I spent a lot of my time. Like the job itself, we're not always working. You should, like anesthesia, for example, you presume that they're working the whole time. They're just chilling for the most part. So the setup is the hardest part for us, and anesthesia as well. The setup's the hardest part. Then during the surgery, you're kind of just chilling. But anyway, so I would read during that. I would read, when I got home a little bit. But I mean, I leave in the morning, get back at night. I go to the gym, and before I knew it, I was home at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and I just didn't have an hour to sit down and read. So that's why I was doing that. But now, um, same idea, and I'm just with studying stuff. I don't know. I actually just told myself yesterday that when I'm done with the studying and I take this exam, pass it, reading will be kind of the first thing I pick back up on my free time. Just because now I almost have this thing mentally where if I have free time and I haven't decided that that's a relaxed day for like studying wise, I'm just gonna let myself chill for that day. I've already told myself that's what I'm gonna do. I feel guilty if I don't study. I won't allow myself to do anything else because I just feel like I need to do it. That's why I almost want to just take this in and pass it. I just want to get it out of my head. Like just it's just this thing that's haunting me all the time. It's like, you got to study, you got to study, you got to study, which I do. But then when life gets busy and I got shit going on and I don't even have that free time, then, days pass by, weeks pass by. I haven't read anything, and studying it, it just, it's hard. But at night I have a book. I don't even know the name of it, honestly. I've been reading it for so long, dude. At night I just try to read it a little bit, but I just I fall asleep more, honestly, before I even start reading. Um,
That's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have. Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't been reading a whole bunch. Life has kind of taken over in a good way. Like I say, I'm upset about it, but reading is definitely something I'm gonna pick back up when, like I said, I get over all this stuff, studying, and I just kind of do that. But
That's me. That's me too. Like I made it a point this week to like during my lunch break, I was like, I have to read. So like I'm almost through. Like I'm in the last section of 7. I think 8's the last chapter. A We Who Wrestle with God. So I don't know. We started that a long time ago. So
yeah,
I have failed myself on a chapter a week. I mean, they're long. They're lengthy.
some of them are, some of them are. I broke it down to the way I was able to do it was I basically gave myself, I think it was 15 pages a day, 10 or 15 pages a day. Which low key, I think it might have been 10. I don't think it was 15. But 10 pages of We Who Wrestle with God is dense. Those 10 pages will take you, that's not taking anything before, depending on how fast you read. For me, and how I want to read that book specifically too, it's not taking me any less than 45 minutes to read that. It was a dense book to get through. The principles were great, but you had to really be there and read it.
Yeah, if your mind drifts a touch, like you're not intaking anything. Like you have to
No,
be. Like it's a present
intense.
book. Yeah, it requires 100% effort,
Yeah.
focus. Yeah.
But like all things that are worth it, it
No,
requires.
I mean
it
it's a
requires
great
your effort.
read. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, but
Yeah.
like if you're just reading it to read it, it's not that book.
No. I don't even. I have a hard time even recommending it to people that I'm not 100% sure are like know Jordan Peterson, because it's not a book you start Jordan Peterson on. If you don't know
No,
who
and
Jordan Peterson is, you don't read that, because you need to get into 12 rules. And I mean, I didn't really finish Beyond Order because I didn't think it was even. I didn't like it, honestly. I thought it was just an extension on a big. I didn't think that it was necessary for the 12 more rules. Those 12 at the beginning I thought were very good. Will I get back into and read the 12 more? Sure. But the thing is with him too is I've heard so much shit he's been talking about that I've heard all the things. You know what I mean? These rules, I know exactly his points before reading it because I just know what he's gonna how he goes about talking about things. Um,
there's a
but yeah.
Belichick book that's coming out. I think what is it, April and like May or June that I'm interested in.
Well, that sounds interesting. Yeah, that sounds cool. It's probably gonna be. I'm wondering how similar that will be. I mean, not similar, but how.
So
I guess similar, actually,
his
to
dad
Nick
wrote a
Saban's
book. Yeah, his dad wrote a book, Belichick's dad. And so Bill wrote one too. And I read a synopsis or like a quick summary of what it was going to be about, and it even got me deeper. It was on some sports thing, but I mean, I looked on Goodreads and it said it's coming out. I forgot the date, but that's something I was like, I need to get through this.
So it's
I
not a
can read
biography.
that. Let me do some research for you quickly.
Well, was Nick Saban's a biography?
No. This one is actually written by Bill. Like he might have had some help, but Nick Saban's book wasn't written by Nick. It's called The Art of Winning.
Let's hope not ChatGPT.
It's called The Art of Winning: Lessons from Life and Football. So, the book description. This is a quote by Tom Brady. Coach Belichick brought out the best in me. His book will do the same for you. And I mean, it's too long to read, but winning isn't a science; it's an art, and it can be learned. No one embodies winning more than Bill Belichick. That was. Go ahead. What do you think about?
Well, I was gonna say two things actually. That just made me think of was how this week you were saying you wanted to change the title and like some more like grabbing, But then we talked what we talked about. But when I hear that and the art of winning, think about how many people have written a book on the art of winning. But Bill Belichick, that's the reason it's going to be. You know what I'm saying? Title most of the time isn't what's going to make you click on or make you grab the book. It's the people that are doing it, the popularity behind it. The art of winning. That's not very creative. ChatGPT would come up with that on its first try. That's not saying much.
Yeah, right. But like and to relate it to us is like, it's not that the dive doesn't encapsulate us, but what is more us than putting something together that is us, right? And like that's kind of like what we got behind. It's like, I think for me, I didn't rush the beginning of it, but I didn't know what it all entailed, and we were just, I don't want to say we were doing it to doing it, but we've learned a lot over. I think this is episode 19. Yeah. So like just hopping on board and learning what like it's gonna be like, and kind of the ebbs and flows, and to say we're kind of getting into a groove with it is kind of where we're getting into. So like to me it's just that like we had a lot of learning to do, and obviously like Bill went through it. So we are just trying to create something that is encapsulating to what we are doing.
Yeah, no, I agree that the Zach and Luca show. If we're gonna switch to anything, I do think that that's the thing to switch to, because that's the most just authentic. It's just, if you based off what you were saying, it's okay. What's the name of your podcast? Oh, the Zach and Luca show. You put that in anywhere, you're gonna find it.
Right.
So I agree that that would, with just regard to that, it'd be a little more accessible. But
yeah, and it's just like when you're like explaining it to the people, oh, it's called the dive, and like I don't, people just they're like, like okay, but it's the Neff and Luca show. Like I don't know, there's a little more excitement.
Neff and Luca show, sorry.
So it don't matter, and it's just like there's a little more excitement. There's a little more,
it's real authenticity.
It's exactly, 100%. So it just we're guys, for you guys, we're going through a little bit of a rebranding phase. So we're taking our time with it. We're getting frustrated. We're creating a lot of different ideas and whatnot. So that's what kind of like
ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's what we're learning. We're using ChatGPT to create a logo. So if you guys have any advice, or if you guys have any things that work well for you guys or listeners, or know of anything how to create podcast covers, we have ideas, we have what we want, but we have yet to find perfection. So comment if you have anything, or if you know anything of that nature, because we could use the help drastically.
Absolutely. That's coming from two people that aren't the most artistic people. So ideally we just draw it ourselves. You're probably sitting there thinking, well, just draw it yourselves, guys. Yeah, well, you do it if you don't have it, if you're not an artist.
The crazy thing
is
I
would draw things, I'll draw stick figures.
The crazy thing is our design isn't that complicated, really.
Can you draw it?
Yeah, I didn't say I could draw it.
No, then just do the by hand and just put the pyramid in the background. It's not that hard.
All right, I will. When it comes back to what you want, you can slap me on the ass and tell me I did a good job. All right.
I would tell you did a great job. I promise. But yeah, also another thing that I thought of, when you were saying about the Bill Belichick book. What book I really enjoyed, more so than I thought I would. I really enjoyed what was it? What dog something? The Nike book. What was it called?
Oh, Shoe Dog.
Shoe Dog. I really enjoyed that. And one of the things that I'll never forget about the point you made a point about the art of winning. I thought of this when you said that. In that book, he was talking about, Phil Knight was talking about just competition and basically what he learned through running and stuff. And he learned that competition is the art of forgetting. The more you can forget about the competition and focus on what you're trying to accomplish, the more you'll be able to compete. And that psychology switch, I feel would help so many people. Because it's so easy just to focus on the person you're trying to beat. But who is it? Who are you trying to beat?
yourself. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
The
to a certain extent, you know. If you're pitching, you could say easily, well, you know, how am I going to beat myself? You know, it's like the batter is irrelevant to a certain extent. That was one of my biggest issues. I assumed that every single batter in the box was Babe Ruth, and I just drove myself nuts. I always felt inadequate, especially when I started dealing with injuries and stuff. When I just wasn't myself. You know, I never once thought these things before when I was myself and I was confident in everything that was going on. But especially in college when I just didn't, I knew I wasn't me. I knew it. Like in my core, I just knew it. There's no fooling yourself. Um, I assumed everyone, the pitcher I was facing, my opening day sophomore year, I'm going against Shane McClanahan, and I mean, turns out he is really good. But at the time, I was like, I assumed that he was just this superstar throwing 100, and now I'm just like, why? Who cares who that is? The competition is going out there and just hitting your spots and being you and doing what you do. It's not even the hitter. The hitter will run into him every now and then, make a good pitch. They're going to hit it occasionally, but it's just the small battles. And in high school, it's funny the way I approached each outing. I assumed the perfect game every time I went out, and every time everything that happened, I just backtracked. So if I let up a hit the first batter of the game, there's a good chance that I wish I could have thrown my glove and fucking freaked out because then I was like, well, my no hitter's blown. I get so pissed, right? But that's how I backtracked it. If I if I walk some, okay, well now I got a no hitter. Now one hitter, okay, well now we're going with one hitter, and that's how I'd compete with myself, And I got away from it, and it was interesting, but that's true. That's how I approached every outing.
Good for you. That's
I
not
learned
how
the
I
thing
did.
that
That's not how I did it.
yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing the way I did it, but it worked. It
Well,
worked.
yeah. For everybody, it's going to be different. You know,
Yeah. What was your approach?
in high school, dude, I just showed up and I played. I literally, I didn't care who we were playing. I didn't care what we were doing. Like, I played for a 1A school, and I thought I my confidence was beyond through the roof. Like, I was
Yeah.
confident, and I just showed up and I played, and like I said, my whole goal, I don't know if I necessarily had fun on the mound, but like the result of the competition was fun. Like, I'll never forget an outing my sophomore year. We're playing CBC. It's an all boys school out of Missouri, and I graduated with a class of 64, and they might have had 64 Division One athletes in the school. And I played for the Pirates at the time, so I was training with some of the guys. So like I knew some of the guys, and I mean they were committed. I mean they had 9 guys committed to Division One schools realistically, and like Matt Vierling is a big leaguer now, and I don't think he went to CBC. Yeah, he did, but he wasn't even on the team then. Like that just tells you how like upper class dominant they were, and we had them on the ropes, and I'll never forget it. Um, it was like a 3-2 ball game at our place, and obviously I'm on the mound, and I think I had first and second, and Justin Paulson, he went to Missouri State, had a pretty good NCAA career. First 2 pitches, he's showing bunt, like he's like a 3-4 hitter showing bunt, um, and I threw 2 balls, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna ease this one in here, like I just want it. I just need the strike. And I did that. And he pulled back and he hit a rope to center field, like a frozen rope. And I always gave our center fielder a little trouble for this, but he broke it. He took a step in and it burned him. So then I gave up 2 runs and we lost 4-2.
Mm.
But, like that school, our school should have never been competing against that team. You know what I mean? Like we were good. Don't get me wrong. We won like the following year we won state, but like we were good. Don't get me wrong. But 9 Division One guys against. I mean, we had two Division One guys on the field.
Yeah.
Our shortstop and me. I mean, we were good. Don't get me wrong for a 1A school, but it was just like it was fun for me. It was like, oh, like who's CBC? Who cares? Like who cares that they're here? Let's go play. Let's go win. And we should have. We could have. If I would have
Dude,
thrown a better pitch, we win.
Yeah. Yeah. That's baseball right
Right,
there.
right, isn't it? If I
That's baseball.
don't throw BP heater 2-0, we win, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know,
Dude, I
and
remember I was in high school, man. I forget what year it was, man. I think it was a freshman in high school, sophomore in high school. No, I was a freshman in high school. No, no, no. I was in 8th grade going into freshman year of high school. And with the national team, we're in Raleigh, and we went to a Jerome Bulls game, right? They put us in the outfield, like the right field. There's this like deck area where they put us there. We are just watching the game from, and they brought us in the field at one point. I don't know what point of the game, but anyways, I remember walking by these players, man, Durham Bulls players. I'm like, these guys suck. I was like, these guys, put me on the mound. I swear, dude. I'm walking
yeah,
around with my shoulders back.
yeah.
I was looking down on these people, and do I feel bad? Do I even like that? Yeah, to a certain extent. Like with all due respect to these guys, but that's where I was at, man. These
Now
guys are
that's
Triple
what.
A guys.
Yes.
Probably some had big league time, and clocks are already started. Like, and I'm looking at them, and I see their fucking helmets with the two ear flaps and not one, and I'm like, oh my, I would beat the fuck out of you. You'd have no chance. And I'm looking at these guys, and that's how I feel. You put me on the mound that day, literally that day, and I promise I'm competing against them.
Oh,
I'm in eighth grade.
100%.
I'm in eighth
Yeah,
grade throwing, what was I throwing, 85, 87?
but you would have
You
competed
know?
though, for sure,
Dude, oh my God.
all day
Because there was
long.
not an ounce in my body that
That
didn't
didn't
think
believe.
that was good enough.
Yeah,
Not one.
that that's where we're the
And
same. Yeah, 100%.
and then when I look back, the only time that really changed is when my elbow started to bother me. And opening day, sophomore year of college. I was like, something's wrong. I'm not me. And that fucked me.
Right.
That really, really got me. And yeah, that's what led down to the downfall. But man,
No,
that when
and
you
that's
have that
like
confidence, dude.
that mentality is just it's so tough to play against because like even if when we do get beat, like we know, like I knew that I got beat. You know, like what we're gonna do about it? Like there was nothing else I could have done about it. I got beat. But like if I was on, if I had that belief, like we're winning. And like that energy just it like to me it trickles through everybody else.
Yeah,
Because like
it's
let's say you give up the 4 runs, if you still believe you're gonna win, your offense is gonna find a way. No matter who, if you're facing Garrett Cole or whoever, you'll find a way.
It's contagious. It's contagious.
Literally. You're like, oh, like, whatever. So
That's why it's such a cancer when your best player is a piece of shit. No one wants to play for him.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
100%. And dude, I was watching the Astros and Padres game, and they were talking about Tatis. And I thought this was a great story. And Tatis was in the offseason, and obviously his dad is who his dad is. And his dad asked him, he's like, are you a good hitter? And Fernando was like, yeah, I'm a good hitter. And Fernando Sr. was like, no, you're not a good hitter. And he was pretty much telling him like how toxic he was as a hitter because he was like swinging out a lot, striking out a lot. And he was just trying to, taking selfish at bats. And like this year, he like doubled his walk percentage and he has minimized his strikeout percentage. It's like the best year he's ever had. And it's like the biggest jump. Obviously they're only like 20 games in, but I don't know. I thought it was pretty wild that, but it takes that, his dad brought him that awareness to that situation.
This is recent though. This was this offseason you're saying after he signed the big deal?
Yeah, this was like a couple weeks ago. Or not even a couple weeks ago. This was I think last Sunday. They have Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. It was Padres Astros. And I mean,
But you're saying the conversation was recent?
Oh, I believe it was this past offseason.
Wow.
From the way the story was told, and like Fernando Tatis Senior was like, no, you're not a good hitter, and here's why. You're leaving your teammates out to dry. You're not driving in runs. You're a selfish hitter. Like your stats are good, but as far as a team hitter, you're not very good. Not like the ability to have somebody bring you that awareness, and then accept that. Now that's and change it, and like have the ability to change it. Now that's effort, that's talent, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But that I thought that was a really neat story because like he obviously has the confidence, he has the stuff, he's already a superstar, but he's still got things to work on. And there's and just like us, there's now we're not playing ball. I have different things to work on. Right.
Amen.
It's the journey. The journey will never change. I know we're a little more lighthearted today. We ended on a deeper note, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, what you're trying to be a superstar in. Whether it be baseball, whether it be living, whether it be best version of yourself. there's no cap to it, and because there's no cap, that means you have to constantly be humble enough to see that you're capable of more. That's why the bane to growth is thinking that you've made it. If you never feel like you've made it, or if you always feel like you have to earn whatever's next and you don't feel like you've ever accomplished it yet, there's a difference. My buddy, he's been cutting for a good while now. He's very lean, looks really good. But I compliment him whenever he sends me pictures and stuff. I'm like, dude, you look great. Like, keep going, whatever. He was like, I'm still a little bitch. Like he was saying that like in a funny way, right? My arm's still small, right? And then I remember last time I talked to him, I said, he said that, and I was like, I'm just gonna stop. I didn't say that. I said, I don't even know what I said, but he responded with, complacency is is whatever. And I said, there's a big difference between a complacency and appreciation. So you can appreciate where you've gotten without being complacent. And that's something that I'm learning now. I've learned, the past few years now, and I wish I could tell myself back in high school, back earlier on the earlier years, because I was so fearful of being complacent that I didn't appreciate the things that I accomplished. And I'm learning that you can have both. You don't have to be complacent, but you can appreciate what you've done, even if it's for a brief moment. I was the kind of guy, literally, go out, do my thing, post-game interview, they're asking me questions about it. I'm already sitting there like it never happened.
Right.
And I'm thinking about the next time. It's like, all right, I got to do this again next week. I got to do this again next week. And that's how my mind worked. And people were always like, oh my God, wow, he's something else. When it's not something to praise.
Sorry.
I don't think it's something to praise. No, it's funny to laugh. It's true. It's not something to praise. It's not something to praise. It's something to teach someone out of. Because if you're not going to appreciate the things you do, you're going to lose the purpose in doing it. What's the purpose then? If you're not going to appreciate it, what's the purpose? And then essentially it's like, okay, you're doing it for the money. You say you're just playing sports. Well, are you going to appreciate all of a sudden when you get the money? No, you're not. Because you've allowed yourself to get there for that reason. And so you're just going to continue doing the same thing that got you there. It's like the principle that like Jordan Peterson talks about it a lot with people that are like tenured and people that are seeking saying what they feel. People hold back what they want to say because they're fearful of what repercussions may come, so they always bite their tongue. But they assume that when they get there, when they get the things that they need, then they're going to have the confidence to and the freedom to open their mouth. But by the time they do that, they're going to have already deep down have already lost what any voice they have because they've suppressed it for so long. So what I'm getting at is, at a certain point, if you just don't appreciate the things you've done, you're just always next, always next, always next, you're going to lose while you're doing it. It's like, well, I'm beating my ass doing this thing, living this tyrannical lifestyle, and almost that's how I have viewed it for myself, where I wasn't allowing myself to do these things that I wanted to do because I knew that it was for a purpose, right? But then I would achieve the thing that sacrifice would create, and I wouldn't appreciate it. It was almost like it was a constant loop, and it's like, well, where's the joy, the enjoyment? Why am I doing this? Where's this sacrifice coming from? Why am I doing this if I'm not even going to appreciate the moment that it pays off? And you learn that after the fact. After I stepped away, I'm starting to I learn these lessons and I see it. And you could argue it's like, well, maybe the time to learn these things is after, because maybe you were at you where you were, professionally, because you were like that. And fair point. But I think you could teach someone to at least appreciate what they're doing, even if it's for a night. You do something well, enjoy it for the night. Next morning, maybe, yeah, move on to the next one. But at least give yourself the night. So, I learned a lot of these things later on. And yeah, so
Now we're here.
now we're here.
But that's a good point. And like, it's hard to appreciate it in the moment, and I think that's kind of like where gratitude and presence come into play. And those
Yeah.
are things that are hard to learn, or were hard for me to learn.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I guess the antidote to that is presence and
gratitude.
gratitude. Yeah. I guess that's the antidote to that.
Like if you're grateful for where you're at, and you are where you're at, like, God's with you.
Yeah, because I can just speak on, I'm going to speak more on presence and gratitude, but I guess they do go hand in hand, but to a certain extent. But if you're present, you're going to trust that your presence is what created that. Granted, your hard work in the past, but that's a byproduct. But your presence is what created that. So, what's going to happen later on if you can just be present and trust your preparation the next time? In theory, why would you assume anything else will change? Not like you're going to get the same outcome every time, but you know what I'm saying? It almost gives you that freedom to say, well, I'm just going to be present in that moment and just be the version of myself that I was now that created this outcome. And it may give you, I'm not sure, maybe it gives you a better opportunity in that moment to just to lose the, I don't know if that's an anxiousness. I don't know if anxiety that's constantly thinking about the next to prepare yourself for the next. If it's because of fear of failure or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, it's presence is a huge thing. I mean,
Well, and what did you say about competition earlier?
the art of competing is the art the the art of competing is the art of forgetting.
Well,
Something like
isn't
that.
the art of forgetting presence? Like, if you're like, and I want to kind of circle this all in, is if you're on the mound and you're competing, you're not remembering, you're forgetting everything, that you're just competing. Like, there's the
Just
presence.
present. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not remembering who the hitter is. You're not remembering you're like, hey, like, this is the moment. Like, and I'm just going to be in the moment. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna have my confidence. Like, you're not thinking those things. You're just being those things. You're
But
being who
isn't it
you are.
crazy though?
You're
Later on,
being
you
who you
still
are.
remember. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
100%. You
yeah,
remember
I do.
sequences. You remember the hitters. You remember all that stuff. But you're still uber present. You know.
Post, yeah, and you remember more whenever you have more presence. Like,
Yes.
whenever I was
100%.
thinking, oh, like with Nolan Gorman's up, like, I have to throw sliders. Like, that's a bad example because that's not what I did with Nolan. But it was like, I remembered those Nolan at bats because I didn't care. Like, oh, Cardinals #1 prospect. Like, who cares? I'm better than him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that guy should remember me, not me remember him.
Yeah.
That guy should tell stories like, there was this guy in the minor leagues that I never got a hit off of, and I faced him a lot. And like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I've never talked to Gorman, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Like, I'm just saying, like, that guy's a big leaguer now, and I owned him on the mound. And
Yeah.
I'm not bragging, but like, I never thought of it that way. It was just like, I get another chance to get big hitters out in big situations, and I love it. Like, give me the ball with the game on the line, and let's go have some fun. That's literally all I cared about. Like, I didn't care who was hitting. If I lost, I lost. Like, I've given up my fair share of walk-off home runs. I've lost games, but I've won my fair share of games as well. A lot of them,
Yeah.
you know.
I think that's what you said about presence is it enhances your memory. Just like, I
Right.
paraphrase a little bit, but dude, that is on point. One thing I've learned completely, especially after, I've taken on this journey of like through meditation and stuff back in from the beginning. I've started in 2021 really. Oh my God. When you really focus and immerse yourself in every moment, your memory is so much better. And it's something that you don't realize until you just do it, and it's not the purpose of it. It's not why you're doing it. But there's things you just remember. You remember the smell of something. You remember the scenery. You remember the birds, the sounds. Dude, you remember things that you just didn't before because you're just there and you're clear. And it's cool because I have like when I journal and stuff, and I'll go back occasionally, if I need to, and I'll just read things, read the positives from a certain day. And dude, what I'm able to do is I'm able to. These are days a year or so ago sometimes, and I'll look at the things I did that day, and I'll remember it. I'll remember that day. Not like, oh, I woke up and I had a omelet and I had this, but I'll remember that day. I promise. If I went back to journals from the nights from the times we spent together for that extended period of time in Fort Myers, I would remember this. Like if we I mean, I don't know what day it was, but I'm sure I'd go back and find, certain things, and I'd be like, oh my God, I remember that day complete. I remember
Right.
what we did. I remember everything. And if it was things from training, for example, I remember, some things. Oh, I remember. Oh my God, that's the day that this happened. Dude, like remember everything, and it's a byproduct of the presence of teaching yourself to live that way. And
Well,
yeah, I you put that in a great way.
and that all goes like that all comes back to like that started with that Matthew McConaughey brought it to my attention with his book Green Lights. He's like, I don't write to remember, I write to forget.
Yeah, yeah,
So then you
yeah.
go back and you open up those journals, and all of a sudden, dude, like, but that writing down, that ability to forget allows for that new presence to step in, and those new memories to like come in, and like it's like it's cyclical. So like I
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I find myself like if I'm stuck on a thought and I'm not writing it down, like it's constantly there. It's constantly there, and like I can't get rid of it. Like I have to like consciously find a way to get rid of it. Like sometimes like if I'm at work and I'm trying to get rid of it, like maybe it's not writing per se. Like maybe it's a breathing technique. Is like, hey, I'll come back to this later. But then it's like I have to forget it then. So like yeah, it just you're constant. Like I don't know. I'm constantly trying to forget borderline.
It's an art. It's an art.
It is an
And
art.
presence could be the antidote to a lot of things, and you don't realize it until you really make that a center focus of your life. You don't realize how many aspects it really does affect until you do it. And then you say, wow, this really does help, you know? And it's hard to tell someone that, teach someone that, because you say someone, you have to be more present. They're just gonna think you're some,
What does that mean?
like,
Honestly,
woo, like guru guy. It's like
yeah.
they don't get it.
Well, honestly, a lot of my presence awareness comes from reading, because like, and what I mean by that is if I'm reading, I'll catch myself doing it all the time. I'm reading, and all of a sudden I'm thinking about something else. It's like, well, I'm not present.
Yeah.
I'm not intaking what I'm reading. And I read that in a book somewhere. I think it was a book that we read together actually. But it's like I have to go back and start to where I wasn't thinking. It's like, okay, like I have to stay on task. Like I have it, like
Yeah. Well, I talked about it. Yeah.
yeah, my presence, it has to be that singular task. Like the minute that my mind wanders, I have to stop and go back. But it takes me a little bit,
100%.
like it'll take me a little bit to be like, oh, like my mind's wandering. Like I'm thinking about a story or something I did or something that happened, and it's like, okay, great, that happened. Now I got to get back here.
Yeah, exactly. Acknowledging it and bringing it back. That's what I learned. One of the things I learned about reading is that that's just as much an extension of meditation as anything else. The meditation itself is what? It's, I guess, the art of putting your mind in one place. A lot of people do it by just focusing on their breath. Some people just try to focus on stillness completely, body and mind. But reading, I learned, is essentially just that. It's putting your mind in one place and keeping it there. And then an extension of that, I learned that meditation can be a 24/7 endeavor. Just because you literally teach yourself or training yourself to live in that moment, have your minds be for that moment. And you can do that for 24/7. Well, tell me what's the difference between that and meditation, other than the fact you're not sitting there and it's not an activity, it's a way of life. And reading taught me that, actually, because if I didn't have the reading aspect to it, where I'm cerebral and I'm thinking and I'm present, obviously, but more so with like my actions too. I'm doing things, not just meditating, laying on the ground or something, sitting on a chair. I started seeing that. I was like, well, my mind needs to be in one place, or else I don't know what the hell is going on. It's like, well, that's kind of everything. That's kind of everything. So, reading is, and that's kind of what I was saying a few weeks ago about my sister's boyfriend's mom. She was saying that she couldn't meditation. She couldn't think about this and that. I said, well, can you read? And she said, yeah. And she said, one of the most absurd things I've ever heard in my life is she skips 3-letter words. I'm like, what?
But you found the root. You found the root.
Yeah, no, exactly. She said that. I said, okay, well, you're capable of meditating. You just don't like stillness. Big difference. Um, but yeah, reading. That's why that's why I am upset to a certain extent that I haven't been able to read as much as I typically like to, because I feel like that is a form of meditation that is just a constant part of my life, and even though I'm meditating elsewhere outside of it, I don't need the reading to meditate, but it is a nice uh extension of that. It's very relaxing. So
Marcus Aurelius's
learn a
book
lot.
title is great. Reading Meditations.
And my sister has that. I never got it.
I haven't read it either. I was at Barnes and Noble yesterday, and I need to read that Victor book, Victor Handel. I don't know. Peterson talks about him a lot, and then Frandl. I don't know, a German philosopher, and then I saw Marcus Aurelius' meditation book, and I just kind of chuckled to myself a little. I got probably books I need to read too.
Yeah. I want to read at one point. I want to read the brothers Kamosolov, the brothers Kams. You know what I'm talking about? Karamazov, the brother something. It's
the book that the Russian book.
Yeah. They say that's a great book. I mean, hard to read, but great. But let's pass this exam first, and then we'll talk about reading that.
Yeah, I got a book I gotta read too. I gotta order it on Amazon.
Yeah. A through Z.
A through Z.
But yeah, well, listen, everyone, appreciate you guys listening. We did a 180, just kind of keeping it light, and then we just turned around and just got deep. But if you guys have any recommendations on artwork, anything we can do for this, because ChatGPT is useless to a certain extent, we'd really appreciate it. But yeah, outside of that, Zach, enjoy your weekend, enjoy your day.
Pleasure.
And we'll be here next week.
Please join us.
Peace.
Adios.